Hello, everyone. I'm Lucia. I am from Mexico, but I live in Paris, France, and so I am representing the city as a local pathways fellow. And so I'm a development practitioner. I focus especially on education and social development projects and initiatives such as the World Innovation Summit for Education. And for the last 2.5 years, I worked with a local nonprofit called Les Petits Riens, which LPR, which focuses on providing access to culture to underprivileged youth. So Paris, I'd like to note also that we actually are two fellows in Paris. My colleague Pascaline is focusing on SDG 16, so on participatory processes, and I am focusing on SDG 4.7, which is focusing on education for sustainable development, global citizenship, the appreciation of cultural diversity, as well as the role of culture in sustainable development. So with Pascaline, we worked and tried to understand what are the really issues with Paris. And so she's working to develop more inclusive and participatory processes of decision-making to make sure that all voices are taken into account in Paris. And this is actually my starting point, because there are many voices in Paris to be heard. There are about 200 nationalities in Paris, and 15% of its population are foreigners. The city region gathers 40% of the immigrants in France, so this is very important. And the city has one of the highest rates in Europe of immigrant descendant populations. So really, the diversity in this city is really rich. However, in spite of this long history of immigration and the diversity of the population, there are many prejudices and very high tensions regarding cultural identities. So this is exacerbated by the arrival also of newcomers with the refugee and migrant crisis that Europe is facing. We really need to find ways for social inclusion to attain sustainable development. However, what I found throughout the fellowship is that sustainable development is understood and reduced to the environmental dimension. This is either by local government representatives, the citizens who don't really understand sustainable development or don't feel that SDGs are actually close to them, and then also by the official curriculum. Education for sustainable development is part of the official curriculum, but it only focuses on the environmental dimension. So we really need to change the narrative of sustainable development. But how do we do this? So the idea is to develop a pedagogy based on sustainable development education as well as global citizenship education, and to provide skills to the learners regarding, for instance, competencies such as empathy, critical thinking, the ability to communicate and collaborate with others, also understanding global issues and understanding cultural diversity. So throughout these frameworks that already exist and already have tools, we could transmit these competencies, this knowledge, these skills, and prepare these learners to face the challenges, to build a more cohesive society, but also to face the challenges of the economic and environmental changes that we are living. So who are these learners? These learners are, on the one hand, local youth, and on the other hand, refugees and migrants. Because we know, actually, I've come to understand that there are many projects that focus on local youth, many projects that work with refugees and migrants, but they are rarely brought together as a community. But we are all living in the same city. So how do we bring them together? There is a lot of diversity. They all have different needs, but we need a common language, something intuitive that will bring them together. And for me, this is art. So this is a picture of a project of Brian McCormack. He works with refugees in camps, and I have worked with youth doing workshops. So throughout these workshops, a series of workshops, we would introduce them to these skills, these issues, and using dance, theater, music, plastic arts, we would have a better way to engage them in sustainable development, starting from the local scale, make them understand how they are involved in sustainable development with the SDGs as well, and then scale up from there to understand the impact they can have. So in conclusion, we need people in the cities that are not just city dwellers. We need true citizens that are prepared to face the challenges, and we believe that through this pedagogy we can actually have them and have citizens that will make all the gears of sustainable development turn and be prepared for the future. So, thank you.